Hello everyone, this is Gorax. Today I am thrilled to present a quick preview of the highly anticipated second awakening of Tower SSR unit Giant, which has been generating quite a buzz on the Discord. While some have expressed reservations about its release, given that Tower is already in an exceptional state, I implore you to reserve judgment until you've seen everything this unit has to offer. Without further ado, let us delve into the most common Dharma formations. As you can see, the only notable difference is Naga, which can be utilized for both offensive and ranged types. However, I am eager to explore the potential role of Giant in this formation. Alright folks, let's get into it. So my grand plan here is to put our hero Darmeth against her mirror using both range and defensive Giant, with range and offensive Naga. Furthermore, I will run both scenarios against Alamar, as he is the only one who ever gives Darmeth a run for her money. Sorry to all you other heroes out there, but you'll have to take a backseat for now. Firstly, let's try and place War Giant into ranged Naga formation. I found myself in a bit of predicament. On the global server, my Seraph is not quite maxed out, and so I had to think outside of the box. Enter the War Giant by choosing Off-Tank. However, as it turns out, the War Giant couldn't quite match the Seraph's utility, and poor Paladin was the first to fall in the battle. Undeterred, I decided to pit the War Giant against Paladin as the main tank, hoping for a better outcome. While the results were certainly an improvement, the War Giant team still suffered defeat. It was clear that change was needed. So I bid farewell to the Paladin and brought in the big guns, a fully powered Seraph, for my third attempt. And much to my surprise, the War Giant team emerged victorious. As we delve into the heated battle between Tower and Dungeon, it's become apparent that Alamar has been reigning supreme. But now, with the highly anticipated awakening on the horizon, the question on everyone's mind is whether Tower can finally turn the tide. Will this newfound power be enough to tip the scales in Tower's favor? Only time will tell, but one thing for certain, the competition between these two factions is sure to be fierce, with no quarter given and none taken. It seems that I tried every trick in the book to take down the mighty Alamar, but to no avail. Starting with the War Giant as an off-tank proved to be a disastrous decision, with poor Paladin taking the fall in the initial assault. Undaunted, I tried switching things up and used the War Giant as the main tank. Although the fight went better than before, it was still not enough to secure a victory. To make matters worse, ranged Naga was utterly useless during the battle, dealing 0 damage for a whopping 47 seconds. I had no choice but to switch things up and try a different approach. Entered the Seraph, and while the Naga Archer certainly put up a good fight, it was still not enough to topple the mighty Alamar, who wasn't even in its final form, as I was not using Devil. Moving on to the War Giant paired with offensive Naga, starting with the War Giant as an off-tank may have looked promising at first, but as the battle raged on, it became clear that the victory was slipping away. Even putting the War Giant in front of the Naga proved to be a little of help. It was only when the Seraph was added to the team, replacing the Paladin, that I began to see some progress. It just goes to show how important Seraph utility is, even in the face of such formidable foes. It seems like our quest to defeat Alamar continues to be a challenging one. Even with the impressive damage dealt by the offensive Naga, the first fight still ended with Alamar coming out on top. Determined not to give up, I tried switching lines, but unfortunately it was still not enough to secure a victory. Even putting the War Giant as the main tank failed to make a dent in Alamar's impressive defenses. In a last-ditch effort, I swapped out the Paladin for the Seraph, hoping that the added utility would finally turn the tide in their favor. It was not to be, and Darmeth was defeated once again. Now, I was always been a big fan of the caster Giant, but in his current state, the Giant is a bit too squishy. But With the second awakening's added HP log, the Giant becomes a much more formidable force. Playing Thunder Giant has yielded some interesting results. While the Giant's damage output is certainly impressive, it seems that the enemy's team healing abilities were simply too much for it to overcome. In a head-to-head matchup between a Darmeth team featuring the Thunder Giant and a standard Darmeth team, the Thunder's Giant team dealt a whopping 54 billion damage, far outpacing the standard team's 47 billion. However, despite this impressive damage output, the Thunder's Giant team was still unable to secure a victory as the enemy's team healing proved to be too much for them to handle. It just goes to show that in the world of competitive battles, raw damage output is not always enough to secure a win. Sometimes a more strategic approach is needed, one that takes into account the strengths and weaknesses of both your team and your opponents. In a matchup against enemy offensive Naga, I was finally able to secure a victory, thanks in large part to the outstanding damage output of the Thunder Giant. This time around, the Giant managed to double its previous damage output, making a significant impact on the battle. When I switched out to offensive Naga, the Giant still proved to be a top damage dealer, but unfortunately, victory once again belonged to standard Darmeth team. Despite the impressive damage output, my tests have shown that it is not enough to secure victory against weaker Alamar team. In battles using both ranged and offensive Naga, Darmeth frontline was unable to withstand the onslaught of the Alamar team, ultimately leading to defeat. It's clear that winning battles in this game requires more than just raw damage output. I believe that the second awakening of the Giant makes him a solid choice in both of its forms. However, it may not necessarily address the specific challenges that Darmeth is facing with the current meta dominated by the powerful Alamar. While Giant may not be the optimal choice for beating Alamar teams, I think that it still may be a useful addition in other game modes, particularly in the 3v3 modes, where multiple units are required. However, investing resources to build up the Giant may require careful consideration and planning, as it's not cheap, and there are better options coming up like Second Awakening of Paladin. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to invest in the Giant unit will depend on the individual's player goals and preferences. I will encourage you to experiment with different team compositions and strategies in order to find the ones that work best for your playstyle and goals. Thank you guys for watching, stay safe, bye!